There's a great line in the Catechism which says freedom has the power to make choices forever with no turning back. In one respect, this is why Jesus Christ is speaking about sin in this way. The whole point of speaking about cutting off members of your body in order to not sin reveals the seriousness of some sins. And if we do commit a mortal sin, it cuts us off from our relationship with God. And the church teaches if it is not redeemed by repentance and God's forgiveness, it causes exclusion from Christ's kingdom and the eternal death of hell. For mortal sin penetrates to the eternal in man, where the person chooses deliberately, knowingly, and willingly something gravely contrary to the divine law. And when the church speaks about the eternal man, what she is saying is you have a soul where all sin takes place, and where all need mercy and grace to heal them. For the essence of sin is this entirely spiritual revolt against God himself, and it can only be healed by the sacraments, grace, mercy, and obedience to God's commandments. For one exorcist mentions clearly it's not by faith alone that saves us, but it's by faith and obedience. The church teaches by grace we can keep the commandments of God, and they're not burdensome, but rather a pleasure and a joy to the soul. In one sense, we are called to follow them in our freedom with no turning back. Also, he mentions this term cutting off this or that because we cannot leave sin without grace and a real sacrifice, a real death to self to live, where we do make definitive choices to aid us to cut off this sin or that sin. For St. Paul mentions, I beat down my body to bring it into subjection. In other words, St. Paul understands the fallenness of the body, which does not cooperate with the soul and even rivals against it. He calls this the law of his members, warring against the law of his mind. And this is one of the reasons a penitent life is necessary to aid one to live according to the holiness they desire, the goodness they desire, and the righteousness they really desire to live. In the end, we should do some penitent act daily, such as a rosary, a Divine Mercy chaplet, or some holy action which keeps us turned toward God, who desires to give us every grace necessary to be as holy as we ought, and to enter into his heavenly kingdom at the end of our lives.